Hello everybody, so what I'm going to do in this short video is just recap what we already know about perfect competition, the importance of these points and what they mean for firms in this position, and then we'll be able to draw the full diagram for perfect competition. So first of all, what we know about perfect competition is that it is the most competitive type of market structure in economics. So it's very, very competitive. There are lots and lots of firms competing. And that fact that there are lots of firms in the market is one of the assumptions that helps us identify a perfectly competitive market structure. So there's a very high number of firms. Now, in order for there to be a very high number of firms, it must be fairly straightforward for new firms to enter. So in order for that to be the case, what we do is we make an assumption that there are no really big barriers. So there's no barriers to entry, nothing stopping firms entering the market. Okay. Then, if you remember, we talked about how the firms might make the same product. It's not a similar product, if you recall. The product is identical. And the term we used for that was that the product was homogeneous. And that means it's identical. Now, the importance of that is that customers won't mind which firm they use because the products are all perfect substitutes for each other because they're identical. Okay. Because there are lots and lots and lots of firms, we also assume that no one firm has got any real control over the market. So each firm is very small and can't influence the market price. And if you remember, we said that them not being able to influence the market price makes them price takers. Okay. So one last thing we need on our assumption list, which we haven't talked about so far in this context, but we did talk about last year when we were looking at market failure, is information and asymmetric information, which was when we talked about merit goods. We remember we said merit goods existed because people may not have full information. One of the assumptions about perfect competition is that everybody knows everything. So there is full information available. And what that means is it goes together with some of the other assumptions that people will know where the cheapest outlet is for their product. And therefore that makes them more likely to go to the cheapest shop because they know where it is. Equally, if a firm is able to make the product in a different way or using new technology, all the other firms will very quickly know that. That's the importance of this idea of full information being available. Now, without the use of a graph, we might be able to think, well, what is the significance of these assumptions all combined together? Okay, so we've got lots of firms. Firms can come into the market easily. The product is identical. Each firm is really small and they've got to sell their product for the same price as everybody else. So taken together, what is the total effect of those assumptions? Okay, so have a think, what is likely to happen, and thinking about how successful the firms are going to be. The overall effect is that we can expect them to struggle to make what a non-economist would call profit. But we are going to introduce a new term here. A firm will not be able to maintain or to keep, and this is the new term, we don't call it profit, we call it supernormal profit. Or if you look it up on the internet or in a book, you may see it called abnormal profits. Okay, so firms won't be able to make supernormal or abnormal profits, and what that means is where revenue is greater than costs. If you think about that, that's what most people would think of as profit, isn't it? Where they've got more money coming in than money coming out. We would think about that as profits unless we're thinking as economists. As economists, we say, well, that's excess revenue. It's not profit because that's too vague a term. That's called supernormal or abnormal profits. The reason why that's important is there is a different type of profit that we would use as economists. So instead of doing or making supernormal profits, what we would say is that the firm is more likely to be in a position where its revenue is not greater than its costs, but it's equal to its costs. It's not greater than its costs because if it was, lots of new firms would simply arrive in the market, sell the product for a lower price and drive the price down. But it's not going to be less than its costs. We're not going to have a position where firms will, for a long period of time, sell their products for less than it costs them to make, because if they did that, obviously they'd lose money, and what they would do is leave the market. And if you think back to our earlier presentations and sessions, if firms leave the market supply would shift to the left, and that would force the price up, and we'd return to a position where revenue would be equal to costs. And if that happens, we would call that normal profits. Okay, so that's why it's really important that we don't use the term profit on its own now, because to economists it's not precise enough. If we're talking about a situation where the firm has got more money coming in than it has going out, we call that supernormal profits. If we're talking about a situation where it's got less money coming in than it has going out, that's obviously a loss. But in this position, in perfect competition, we're very likely to be talking about revenue being the same as cost, normal profit. So it's important you've got your own notes. All the information in black needs to be in your notes. Okay.